The vast chamber of the Galactic Assembly stretched impossibly high, its crystalline walls shimmering with the light of 3 distant suns. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the raised dais, her weathered face betraying none of the anger she felt as Supreme Counselor. Vexthor's words echoed through the chamber. And so, these humans, the ethereal being's voice dripped with barely concealed disdain, claim they are ready to join the Assembly as equals, when they achieved faster-than-light travel mere decades ago. Murmurs of amusement rippled through the gathering of over 200 species. Sarah's hands remained clasped behind her back, her admiral's uniform crisp despite the 12-hour wait they'd endured before this audience. Behind her, the small human delegation maintained perfect composure, just as they practiced. With respect, Supreme Counselor, Sarah's voice carried clearly across the chamber. Earth has met every technological benchmark set by the Assembly's admission protocols. Our energy production exceeds Class 3 civilization requirements. Our quantum computing capabilities. Quantum computing, interrupted Counselor Marak, their chidness form clicking in what passed for laughter among the Kethara. You've barely scratched the surface of dimensional mathematics. Our youngest member races spent millennia perfecting quantum architectures before claiming such expertise. Sarah felt Dr. Patel, her chief scientist, tense beside her. They both knew the truth, that Earth's quantum systems had already surpassed anything the Assembly had seen. But that was classified information, part of Project Prometheus, hidden away in underground facilities across the solar system. We recognize our youth, Sarah continued diplomatically, but Earth's rate of advancement is concerning, rumbled Elder Kevoth, the ancient being's plasma form swirling with agitation. No species progresses this quickly without outside assistance. Tell us, Admiral Chen, what artifacts did you find? What dormant technologies did you salvage to accelerate your development? Sarah had expected this accusation. It was almost laughable. They thought humanity had cheated, found some ancient cache of advanced technology. The truth was far more impressive. Humanity had done it all on their own, driven by an insatiable curiosity and determination that the Assembly species couldn't comprehend. We found nothing, Sarah stated firmly. Earth's advancement is the result of human innovation and dedication. The chamber erupted in dismissive chatter. Supreme Counselor Vexthor raised a limb for silence. Admiral Chen, surely you understand our skepticism. Your species was launching chemical rockets just over a century ago. Now you claim mastery over gravitic propulsion and fusion containment. The Assembly has watched countless young races rise. All follow predictable patterns of development. All except yours. Sarah noticed something interesting as she scanned the chamber. While the elder races openly mocked humanity's claims, the younger species watched with barely concealed interest. The Nexeri representative, whose people had joined the Assembly just a century ago, caught her eye with what seemed like a knowing look. The Assembly has reached its decision, Vexthor announced. Earth's petition for full membership is denied. You will remain under provisional status for no less than 500 cycles. Until then, all advanced technology transfers will be restricted and your expansion limited to your home system. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. We accept your decision. Supreme Counselor, Earth will continue its development independently. Something in her tone made Vexthor pause. The ancient being studied her with all 7 of its sensory organs. You seem unconcerned, Admiral. Earth has always charted its own course, Sarah replied. We'll do so again. As the human delegation left the chamber, Sarah activated her quantum encrypted comm unit. Control, this is Chen. Implementation Authorization Code. Prometheus Rising. The acknowledgement came instantly. Authorization confirmed, Admiral. Initiating Protocol Dawn. In facilities hidden throughout the solar system, machines that had waited years for this moment hummed to life. In the Oort cloud, massive construction yards shed their sensor-proof camouflage. On Mars, Underground factories began producing technology that would make the Assembly's restrictions meaningless. The elder races thought they were dealing with children playing with borrowed toys. They hadn't recognized the fire in humanity's eyes, the same fire that had taken them from stone tools to the stars in a mere blink of cosmic time. They hadn't understood that humanity's greatest strength wasn't the technology they'd developed. It was their capacity to face impossible odds and find a way to overcome them. As their ship broke orbit, Dr. Patel joined Sarah at the observation window. They'd really have no idea, do they? Sarah watched the Assembly's magnificent capital world shrink behind them. No, they see what they expect to see. A young race that needs to be contained and controlled. They've forgotten what it's like to be driven by the need to prove everyone wrong. How long until we reveal Project Prometheus? The quantum shipyards will be operational in 6 months. The new drive systems are already in production. Let them think they've put us in our place. Let them think we're safely contained. Sarah's reflection smiled back at her in the reinforced glass. Humanity has always done its best work when everyone else thinks we can't succeed. Their ship entered FTL, leaving behind a galaxy that had just made its first major mistake. They had underestimated humanity's potential. Soon, they would learn why that was never a wise decision. The game was about to change, and Earth held all the cards they didn't know existed. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Dr. Maya Rodriguez stood before a holographic display that filled an entire wall of the command center. Red dots pulsed across a 3-dimensional map of the solar system, each representing a hidden installation now coming online. Status report on Project Prometheus, she commanded, her voice steady despite the excitement coursing through her veins. This was the moment they'd spent 15 years preparing for. Titan facility reports ready. Her AI assistant, AI, responded. Quantum Forge production lines are spinning up. Mars underground complexes 1 through 7 are transitioning from standby. Oort Cloud shipyards report all stealth systems functioning at optimal levels. Maya watched as more indicators turned green across the display. The Assembly thought they'd contained humanity within the solar system. They had no idea they'd given Earth exactly what it needed. Time and space to perfect technologies that would reshape the galaxy. Message from Admiral Chen, Araya announced. The Assembly rejected our petition, exactly as predicted. Protocol Dawn is now active. Maya allowed herself a small smile. They really believe we're just copying their technology, don't they? Show me the latest test results from the Einstein drive. The hologram shifted, displaying a sleek vessel unlike anything the Assembly had ever seen. Where their ships required massive engines for FTL travel, the Einstein drive bent space itself with a fraction of the energy. It was just one of hundreds of innovations humanity had developed while pretending to struggle with basic assembly technology. Dr. Rodriguez, a voice called from behind her. Maya turned to see Director Marcus Walsh entering the command center, his dark skin reflecting the blue glow of the holograms. Is everything proceeding according to schedule? Better than expected, Maya replied. The Assembly sensors are still focused on our decoy facilities in Earth orbit. They haven't detected any unusual activity in the outer system. Marcus nodded, studying the display. 15 years of hiding our true capabilities, making them think we're just another primitive species stumbling toward the stars. Do you know what the Assembly's analysts predicted would be our technological level by now? Something about us barely mastering antimatter containment. Maya chuckled. They estimated it would take us another century to develop reliable quantum computing. Marcus gestured to a nearby terminal, where strings of complex calculations flowed across the screen. Meanwhile, our quantum networks are already more advanced than anything they've achieved in millennia. A new alert flashed across the main display. Maya's eyes widened as she read the data. Sir, we're detecting unusual activity from the Nexari embassy on Earth. The Nexari, one of the Assembly's younger races, had always seemed different from the others. Less condescending, more curious about humanity's rapid progress. Show me, Marcus ordered. The hologram zoomed in on the embassy compound. "They're scanning our orbital facilities," Maya reported. "But these aren't standard assembly sensors. They're using quantum detection arrays we didn't know they had." Marcus smiled. "Interesting. Maybe we're not the only ones who've been holding back. Open a secure channel to Admiral Chen. I think it's time we had a private conversation with our Nexori friends." In high orbit above Earth, hidden beneath layers of quantum stealth fields, the first of humanity's new vessels took shape. The Assembly's restrictions on expansion had forced humanity to think differently, to develop technologies that did more with less. Now those limitations would prove to be their undoing. "Arrogance. Show me current production estimates," Maya requested. Numbers scrolled across her field of view. Within 6 months, they would have a fleet that could outmaneuver anything in known space. The Einstein drive wasn't just faster than conventional FTL. It was more efficient, more elegant. While the Assembly had spent millennia refining the same basic technologies, humanity had pursued radical new approaches. "Message from the Mars complex," Araya announced. "They've successfully tested the quantum shield prototypes. Energy absorption rate exceeds projections by 300%. Maya remembered the Assembly representatives' dismissive looks when Earth had presented its primitive shield technology during the membership petition. If they only knew that the clumsy designs they'd seen were deliberately obsolete, meant to hide humanity's true capabilities. "Director," she called to Marcus, who was deep in conversation with his staff. "The quantum shields are ready. Combined with the Einstein drive, we'll be able to deploy anywhere in Assembly space without detection." Marcus finished. "How long until the first battle group is ready?" Maya checked the production schedules. 3 months for the first wave. "But sir, are we certain we want to reveal everything at once?" The Assembly's reaction will be exactly what we've planned for, Marcus assured her. "They think they've contained us, limited our growth. Instead, they've forced us to become more innovative, more resourceful. The Assembly's greatest weakness is their certainty that they know everything worth knowing." A new alert caught Maya's attention. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Nexuri embassy. Encrypted, using our quantum protocols." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "They'd broken our encryption." "No," Maya said, studying the data. "They're using it perfectly. As if they've developed the same technology independently," Marcus finished. "Accept the transmission. I think the galaxy's power structure is about to become a lot more interesting." Deep in the Oort cloud, massive construction yards continued their work, hidden from the Assembly's prying eyes. Humanity had learned long ago that sometimes the best way to prove someone wrong was to let them believe they were right up until the moment everything they thought they knew changed forever. The game the Assembly didn't know they were playing was about to enter its next phase, and humanity was holding all the cards. The Galactic Assembly's central trade hub on Centauri Prime had never seen such chaos. Merchant species from across known space crowded around information terminals, their various appendages gesturing in agitation as market prices plummeted across every sector. Ambassador Kelvin of the Nexari watched the pandemonium from his private observation deck, his iridescent scales shifting colors with barely contained amusement. The Assembly's economic experts were scrambling to explain how human-made quantum processors had suddenly flooded the market. Processors that were somehow both cheaper and more advanced than anything available. His secure communicator chimed. "Is it everything you expected?" Admiral Chen's voice asked. "More," Kelvin replied, watching another trading house declare bankruptcy. The Assembly never considered that their restrictions might force humanity to develop more efficient production methods. They thought they were containing you. Instead, they pushed us to innovate. Sarah Chen finished. "How are the elder races taking it?" The Kethera delegation stormed out of an emergency session when they realized human technology had made their primary exports obsolete. The plasma beings are demanding an investigation into illegal technological theft. They still can't accept that you developed all this independently. In the void between Mars and Jupiter, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Einstein, humanity's first true battleship. Its quantum-shifted hull would have been invisible even to assembly sensors, if any had been looking in the right direction. The vessel represented everything humanity had achieved while pretending to be technological primitives. "The trade shock is just the beginning," Sarah said, watching as her crew prepared for the next phase of Operation Starlight. "Are your people ready?" "The Nexari ships are in position," Kelvin confirmed. "The other young races are watching. When you prove it's possible to break free from the assembly's control." A new alert flashed across the Einstein's main display. "Right on schedule," Sarah noted. "The Assembly's High Council is convening an emergency session. Shall we crash their party?" The High Council chamber was packed. Representatives from every major assembly species had gathered to address the crisis. Supreme Counselor Vexthor's normally luminescent form had dimmed with stress as reports continued to pour in. "These humans are violating every trade restriction we placed on them," Elder Kavoth thundered, his plasma form roiling. "Their technology cannot possibly be this advanced. They must have had help. We've detected no unauthorized ships entering their system," Counselor Narak reported, mandibles clicking nervously. "No unusual transmissions. No sign of outside interference. However they're doing this, they developed it within their own space." "Impossible," Vexthor declared. "No species advances this quickly without." The chamber's massive holographic display suddenly activated, showing a sight that made every being present fall silent. A human vessel had appeared in orbit around the Assembly capital world. Simply appeared, with no FTL signature, no warning. It was followed by another and another, until 12 ships hung in formation, their sleek designs unlike anything the Assembly had ever seen. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force." A familiar voice echoed through the chamber. "We apologize for arriving unannounced, but your sensor networks seem to have missed us." Vexthor's form pulsed with barely contained rage. "How dare you violate assembly space? Our defense fleets will." "Your defense fleets are still trying to detect us," Sarah interrupted calmly. "Your sensors can't track our Einstein drive signatures, just like your trade restrictions couldn't prevent us from developing superior technology, just like your containment policies couldn't stop us from building ships that can appear anywhere in the galaxy at will." On screens across assembly space, the same scene played out. Human vessels appeared near major trade hubs, military installations, and population centers, not firing a shot, not making any aggressive moves, simply demonstrating that the Assembly's control of space travel was an illusion. "Counselors," Sarah continued, her image now appearing in the center of the chamber. "Humanity respects the Assembly's experience and history, but we reject the notion that age alone confers wisdom, or that the path you followed is the only valid route to advancement. Today, we're offering a choice." Another set of ships appeared, sleeker, with distinctive iridescent hulls. The Nexari have joined us in proposing a new framework for galactic cooperation, one based on innovation and mutual respect, not age and arbitrary restrictions. Other young races are welcome to join us. In the council chamber, the younger species representatives were already moving away from their elder race patrons, gathering in their own group. They had watched humanity prove that the Assembly's technological dominance could be challenged. Now they had a choice. "This is an outrage," Elder Kavoth roared. "You cannot simply." "We already have," Sarah stated firmly. "The galaxy is changing, counselors. You can change with it, or you can watch as humanity and its allies forge a new path forward. The choice is yours." On the Einstein's bridge, Sarah watched as the Assembly's carefully maintained power structure began to crack. Centuries of technological stagnation, enforced by the elder race's belief that their way was the only way, were coming to an end. "Message from Director Walsh," her communications officer reported. "The Centauri Prime Trading Hub is requesting access to our quantum manufacturing specifications. 3 more young races have contacted Earth requesting alliance negotiations." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The assembly had tried to contain humanity's growth, never realizing that pressure only made humans more determined to succeed. Now the galaxy would learn why Earth's children had gone from stone tools to the stars faster than any species in known history. The real question wasn't whether humanity would change the galaxy. It was whether the assembly would adapt or fade into irrelevance. In the 3 months since humanity's dramatic revelation of their true capabilities, the galaxy had transformed more rapidly than anyone could have predicted. Director Marcus Walsh stood in Earth's newly constructed Galactic Cooperation Center, watching representatives from 24 young races examine demonstrations of human technology. Another trade agreement signed, Dr. Maya Rodriguez reported, joining him at the observation window. The Calrians are offering their zero-point energy research in exchange for our quantum manufacturing methods. Marcus nodded, watching a group of crystalline beings marvel at a demonstration of Earth's gravity manipulation technology. How many species have broken away from the assembly's control now? 17 confirmed, with 5 more in negotiations, Maya replied. The Nexari network has expanded to cover nearly a third of known space. The Assembly's trade restrictions are effectively meaningless now. The Assembly had discovered, too late, that their attempt to contain humanity had instead created something far more dangerous, an alternative to their controlled development model. Earth had become a beacon for every young race tired of being told to wait their turn, to develop only along approved paths. On the Assembly capital world, Supreme Counselor Vexthor faced the latest crisis. What do you mean? The Zarkax have withdrawn from the technology exchange program, the ancient being demanded. They've joined the Human Nexari Alliance, an aide reported nervously. Their entire sector is now using Earth's new FTL communications network. Our influence in the region is minimal. The Assembly Chamber, once the unchallenged center of galactic power, seemed emptier every day. The younger races had claimed their own section of the facility, where they conducted trade negotiations and technology exchanges without oversight from the elder species. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Chen supervised the installation of the latest quantum defense grid. The Assembly's initial threats of military action had faded when they realized how far behind their technology had fallen. Human ships could appear and disappear at will, their Einstein drives making traditional space warfare obsolete. Message from the Nexari fleet, her tactical officer announced. They've successfully integrated the new quantum shields. The Joint Defense Network is at 90% coverage. Sarah remembered the Assembly's dismissive attitude toward human innovation. Now, their former military advantages were evaporating as Earth shared its advances with its allies. Not out of charity, but out of a recognition that cooperation drove progress faster than competition. In a secure facility on Mars, Dr. Rodriguez led a joint research team of humans and former Assembly species. The elimination of artificial barriers between civilizations had accelerated technological development beyond anyone's expectations. The combination of Calrian energy systems with our quantum computing has opened up entirely new possibilities, a Nexari scientist explained, their scales shifting to excited patterns. We've achieved computation speeds that the Assembly claimed were theoretically impossible. Maya smiled, remembering how the elder races had insisted their way was the only way. That's what happens when you stop telling people what they can't do and start asking what else might be possible. The Assembly's power had always rested on 2 pillars, their technological superiority and their ability to control access to advanced knowledge. Humanity had shattered both. Earth's willingness to trade and collaborate with younger races had created a new model of development, one that encouraged innovation rather than stifling it. In the Galactic Cooperation Center, Marcus received an urgent communication. Sir, we're detecting unusual activity in Assembly space. Multiple elder race ships are mobilizing. Defensive formation? He asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. No, sir. They're heading for Earth, but not as a fleet. Individual vessels, each carrying high-ranking representatives. Marcus shared a knowing look with Maya. They finally realized they can't stop this change. Now they want to negotiate. The assembly had spent millennia believing they had nothing left to learn from younger races. Now they faced a choice: adapt to a galaxy where innovation and cooperation trumped age and tradition, or become irrelevant. A Nexari destroyer dropped out of quantum space near Earth, its iridescent hull gleaming. Ambassador Kelvon's voice came through on a private channel. Director Walsh, the Assembly's High Council is requesting an emergency summit. They're proposing a restructuring of galactic governance. Are they ready to accept equal representation for all species? Marcus asked, though the answer would have been unthinkable just months ago. They don't have a choice, Kelvon replied, amusement clear in his voice. Humanity has shown the galaxy that age doesn't equal wisdom, and control doesn't equal progress. The old order is changing, whether they like it or not. In deep space, another human ship activated its Einstein drive, disappearing from normal space only to reappear light years away in an instant. The technology that the assembly had claimed was impossible had become commonplace. The boundaries they had insisted were unbreakable had been swept away. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where cooperation and innovation would replace stagnation and control. And it had all started because the assembly had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's capacity to prove them wrong. 1 year after humanity's revelation of their true capabilities, the great dome of the new Galactic Council shimmered under the light of Earth's sun. Unlike the old assembly chamber's design, which had placed elder races on elevated platforms above younger species, this hall was circular, with all representatives seated at the same level. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the center of the chamber, her dress uniform adorned with the new insignia of the Combined Fleet Command. Around her sat representatives from over 300 species, former assembly members, young races, and even some civilizations that had previously stayed isolated from galactic politics. The integration of the quantum defense network is complete, she reported. For the first time in galactic history, we have a unified system capable of detecting and responding to threats from outside known space. This achievement would not have been possible without contributions from every member of this council. Supreme Counselor Vexthor, who had chosen to remain as one of the Assembly's representatives in the new order, shifted uncomfortably. The past year had been a harsh lesson in humility for the elder races. We acknowledge that the old ways limited potential rather than nurturing it. Humanity's example has shown us that wisdom can come from unexpected sources. In orbit above Earth, the massive research station Unity spun slowly against the backdrop of stars. Dr. Maya Rodriguez walked through its corridors, passing teams of scientists from dozens of species working together on projects that would have been forbidden under the old assembly's restrictions. Dr. Rodriguez, called a young Cathera researcher, their chidness form vibrating with excitement. The combined quantum plasma experiments have exceeded all projections. By merging our species' understanding of plasma states with human quantum theory. Maya smiled, remembering how the Cathera had once mocked humanity's primitive quantum computing efforts. Now they were eager partners in pushing the boundaries of science. The station's motto, displayed in multiple languages at every junction, captured the new spirit perfectly: innovation through unity. In the diplomatic quarter of Earth's capital, Director Marcus Walsh met with Ambassador Kelvon in what had become a weekly tradition. The Nexari diplomats' scales rippled with amusement as they reviewed the latest developments. Another assembly holdout has requested membership in the Technology Exchange Program, Kelvon reported. They finally admitted that isolation is no longer sustainable. And the elder races? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. Most have accepted the new reality. Some are even thriving in it. Turns out that when you stop enforcing stagnation, even ancient species can rediscover their capacity for innovation. Above them, ships of various designs move through Earth's orbital lanes, sleek human vessels with their Einstein drives, crystalline assembly craft incorporating new quantum shields, Nexari ships that combine multiple species technologies into entirely new forms. The sight would have been impossible under the old order's rigid restrictions. In a secure conference room deep within the Galactic Cooperation Center, Sarah Chen met with her counterparts from other species' defense forces. The displays showed a map of known space, now crisscrossed with trade routes and communication networks that ignored the old assembly boundaries. The last pirate groups have been neutralized, reported Admiral Zarix of the former assembly fleet. They couldn't adapt to our combined detection capabilities. For the first time, we have truly secured trade lanes across all sectors. Sarah nodded, remembering how the assembly had claimed such cooperation between species was impossible. And the Deep Space Exploration Initiative. The first joint expedition launches next week, answered Commander Thurix of the Calrian Science Division. Human Einstein drives, Nexary sensor arrays, assembly power systems, all working together, we'll be able to reach regions of space previously thought inaccessible. In the Unity Station's observation deck, Maya watched Earth rotate below. A year ago, the assembly had thought they were containing a dangerous young race. Instead, their restrictions had forced humanity to think differently, to innovate in ways the elder races had never considered. And when humanity had finally revealed their true capabilities, they had chosen to share rather than dominate. Message from the council chamber, her AI assistant announced. They're ready for the ceremonial activation. Maya took a deep breath. This was the moment they had all been working toward. In the council chamber, representatives of every member species watched as she initiated the startup sequence for the galactic network, a quantum communication system that would link all civilized worlds in instantaneous contact. As the activation signal spread across space at impossible speeds, creating connections that transcended traditional limitations, Maya thought about the journey that had brought them here. The assembly had feared change, had tried to control it, only to discover that true strength came from embracing it. The galaxy had entered a new age. Not one dominated by humanity or any other species, but one where cooperation and innovation were valued above tradition and control. The old assembly had believed that progress had to be carefully managed, doled out in measured doses over millennia. Humanity had proved that when barriers fell, when species worked together instead of holding each other back, anything was possible. As the network came fully online, connecting billions of beings across thousands of light years, the message was clear. The future belonged to those who dared to imagine it could be better, who weren't afraid to challenge the established order, who understood that the greatest achievements came not from competition, but from collaboration. The stars themselves seemed brighter somehow, as if reflecting the dawn of this new era. Humanity had changed the galaxy not through force or domination, but by showing a better way forward. And this was just the beginning.